I want to welcome in the panel as you wake up on this Wednesday morning. We start with our White House correspondent, Emerald Robinson. USA Strong Executive Director Aaron Elmore with us this morning. Political analyst Mark Halperin is here, and Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps with us as well. I want to play a quick soundbite from the weekend. Tiger was on with Jim Nance. He was covering a golf tournament. Tiger, of course, not playing golf. He had his 5th back surgery in December, but he was on talking about how optimistic he is that maybe he'd be playing in the Masters in April. Take a listen.
7 weeks from today, final round of the Masters. You going to be there?
Gotta hope so. I got to get there first.
You feel like
a lot of it's based on my surgeons and my doctors and my therapists, and making sure that I do it correctly. And this is the only back I got, so I don't have much more wiggle room left there.
Yeah, Emerald, we'll start with you, and then we'll go right around the table this morning. This is, you saw this kind of happen yesterday afternoon. Tiger, this is a guy that's come back from a lot of self-inflicted wounds, addiction, and he had the situation with his wife. There's been some scandal in his life, certainly. There are no fairy tales, and I think this is a good reminder of that. You get behind the wheel of a car, and your life is in your hands, and things like this can happen at any moment. And it was, I think everybody's eyes were sort of glued to their phones and TVs yesterday afternoon as this happened.
Yeah, I was actually following a lot of this stuff on the Hill, so I didn't really see many of the details until later in the day. But Tiger Woods has been the ultimate up and down story and the comeback story. I thought it was very sad to hear of this, and I'm wishing him well and praying for him that he has a speedy recovery. What road was it in LA that he wrecked on?
He was leaving a luxury oceanfront resort, really popular resort. I'm going to botch the name of it, but it's the Terrania Resort. Does that sound familiar?
Near Palos Verdes.
Yeah, and it's right on the water. So he was leaving.
Those roads are narrow.
Narrow, steep, windy, but get this, Mark. I thought this was interesting, just to show you how sort of dangerous these roads are. The first person to see the accident in a car, pulled over the shoulder, a small shoulder. It's not a full-size shoulder like you'd see on maybe a freeway or on 95 or something like that. Pulled over, was about to call the police, and then somebody rear-ended him. Now, those two were just fine, but it shows you how dangerous a spot this really was.
Yeah, I've driven in that area, and there's some roads that are fine and flat and wide, and there's some that are just narrow, and high speed is not a safe thing in those areas. Two things that strike me. One is anybody who has back problems, as I do, knows that if you rely so much to counter and to kind of compensate for your back with your legs, and so to the extent he's got leg problems, it's going to be very difficult for him to move around, let alone perform at the level you need to.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed was that the law enforcement was awfully deferential to his management team as they held their press conference, and I think there's more to be learned about just what occurred at the scene of the accident in the minutes and hours after it occurred, while his team was doing what famous and powerful people do when they have accidents, which is to try to control how it plays out.
Exactly, and we haven't heard anything from Tiger Woods just yet, but yeah, apparently he was, Chris, he was lucid enough at the time to tell the responding police officer before the fire team got out there to call my manager and make sure they get my personal effects out of his car. He was in one of those Hyundai Genesises, Chris, which is a luxury Hyundai, but it's it's a loaner car. It's not his car. He was on his way to a private club to do a promotional thing with Drew Brees and others. Scary stuff.
Yeah, it is. My thoughts and my prayers go out to Tiger for a full recovery and to his family. Tiger's had a rough few years during his golf career. He's a very resilient fellow. I think he will bounce back from this, of course. My heart was in my throat, when I heard the news yesterday, this coming after the heels of Rush Limbaugh's passing last week. And all I could think of was, please, not another, celebrity lose his life.
Aaron, it's one of these situations where, especially where we live sort of this day and age, speculation almost starts instantly. The press conference yesterday, the CHP, the police, the fire department, they made it very clear that they did not suspect any alcohol. But with Tiger Woods, he's had addiction problems in the past. He's got an HBO, there's a documentary about him right now that chronicles this pretty thoroughly. When is it okay to start speculating? Because we're not going to get an accident reconstruction report from the CHP. It's going to take some time for all of the facts to come out in this case. But in the meantime, the speculation will begin. What happened? Why? Was he distracted? Was he on his phone? Who knows?
The only thing we should be speculating about is how Tiger's children and girlfriend and ex-wife are doing, the mother of his children. I live in Jupiter, Florida, where Tiger Woods lives. I have met his children. I've met his children's friends. These are nice kids who are worried about their father today. And all we can do is hope that he recovers from these several surgeries quickly and speedily, and that his children are comforted and feel loved today. And my heart truly goes out to the family. I hope that this was just a horrible accident. I wish that it never occurred, but really I think the focus should right now be on the family and how important they are to him and how important our families are to us. And we just hold our children tight and know that life is precious.
Yeah, Aaron, I know, of course, you're a mom too. So I know that that's where the focus should be. And I'll tell you what, yesterday I was watching some of the coverage on ESPN and they were talking about, how likely his return to golf will be. And I thought I was just like, I don't know, why are we talking about this right now? The guy's got a broken foot, he's got a broken ankle, a broken leg. If you're a golfer, I'm not a great golfer by any stretch, but all your power comes from your legs, Mark. So it's a golf comeback is is not out of the question. Nothing's out of the question when it comes to Tiger Woods, but I think 40 days away from the start of the Masters, that is certainly not going to happen this year for Tiger Woods. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Washington. Obviously, a lot to cover there. Let's clear the deck here. I want to play a soundbite from Mitch McConnell, who's talking about this COVID relief bill and the fact that the Senate is 50-50, and without bipartisan support, this probably shouldn't be happening. Take a listen.
Every COVID package we passed last year, we did on a bipartisan basis. There was almost no opposition to most of those bills. And I was hoping the new administration, particularly given the president discussing so frequently being a moderate, would choose to take a different path, particularly when you look at the numbers. A 50-50 Senate, a narrow majority in the House. I would think, looking at that, your conclusion would be maybe we ought to start on a bipartisan basis.
All right, sorry to do that to you guys. Long sound bite there, but some important stuff. Emerald, we could learn today if that $15 minimum wage hike can actually be included in the bill, and then the House is going to vote, I think, on Friday, right?
Right, but to what Mitch McConnell was saying, he might want bipartisan support or want to be involved in this process somehow. But I mean, the White House has been very clear that they support the process of passing this legislation through reconciliation. And at this point, they don't really care if they have McConnell and Republican support.
Mark, does it surprise you that they don't care? They're just going to go it alone. They're just going to jam this down Republicans' throats no matter what?
Well, it was a very fateful decision, and for them, apparently not a tough call. But the alternative to doing it through reconciliation with Democratic-only votes, from their point of view, was risking this dragging out. But what they have now is in Mitt Romney and Rob Portman, who also has an op-ed piece. Both of them have op-ed pieces today, Wall Street Journal and Washington Post. They're basically saying bipartisanship's probably dead, and that's going to be, as I said, very fateful going forward.
Aaron, your thoughts on some of the pork that's in this bill? I mean, right now I've got Senator Marsha Blackburn, Tennessee, coming on a little bit later to talk about this. But there is, if you really look at the numbers, less than 1% addresses vaccinating America, and only about 9.5% actually goes toward COVID relief. Pretty shocking.
I mean, thank God none of these Democrats are kosher, because there is so much pork in every bill that comes out of Washington these days. It's absolutely insane. When we saw the stimulus relief of $600, $1,200, where was the money for these kids that have been out of school, helping them in their homes? A lot of these children don't have internet. The money is not being directed to any of the people that actually need it. It's just special interest and lobbying groups. And that's what the American people need to understand and start changing their votes for, because this is not the way our country was intended to run. Our founders and framers would be absolutely disgusted by the legislation and pork barreling that's just frankly coming out of Washington. It's sick and it needs to stop.
Yeah, Chris, there's a lot in this bill that has nothing to do with COVID relief. A lot of it, it's a liberal wish list that you can draw a straight line all the way back to the Obama administration. Stuff they never got done, stuff they never were able to achieve is now found its way into a COVID relief bill while millions are unemployed and looking for work.
Yeah, I've read reports that out of the $1.9 trillion bill, only about $800 billion actually goes to COVID relief. This is just a payoff bill to the Democratic Party's constituents, the labor unions, the teachers unions, all of those ilk. And when you have liberal economists like Larry Summers, who was in the Barack Obama's administration, saying that this is too large, that we don't need it, I think the Democrats should take heed to that. We don't need a stimulus package this large, especially when we just passed one a couple of months ago.
All right, Mark, we finally have an answer to your question. When will Joe Biden go to Texas? Here's White House Press Secretary talking about Joe Biden's coming appearance in the state of Texas. Take a listen.
On Friday, the President and the First Lady will travel to Houston. The President will meet with local leaders to discuss the winter storm, relief efforts, progress toward recovery, and the incredible resilience shown by the people of Houston and Texas. While in Texas, the President will also visit a COVID health center where vaccines are being distributed. Clearly, there are still more details of the trip coming together, and as we have those, we will make those available to all of you.
So, Mark, by Friday, that will be almost 2 weeks. Is that too long?
No, I told you he'd go this week, and he is going at the end of this week. I really don't think it matters. I think this is the kind of thing for both presidents of both parties that get criticized whether they go or they don't go. He's eventually going to go. I'm sure it'll be a great photo op. People in Texas will be happy to see the president, but I don't really think it matters. What matters is that he's got problems in all the issues he's going for, related to energy, related to immigration, related to the vaccine. The substantive problems matter a lot more than the timing of the photo op.
I'll tell you what, though, and we're tight on time, but they would be all over, Emerald, Donald J. Trump, if he had taken 13 days to appear. I mean, it's,
well,
you know.
That's anything that,
Right.
with anything that the past administration did as compared to this president. I was thinking about that when Mark was talking. I mean, really, you know, the timing is not necessarily that important. It's just that they focused on it so much during the Trump presidency that, you know, we have to almost, you know, we have to highlight it.
We got to point it out.
I'm trying to call a truce, though, on the timing of photo op criticism.
35 days into the Biden administration.
Not great.
By the way, Mark, did you get the ears lowered? It looks like you got the ears lowered.
Yeah, I did. I was looking a little bit like from the 1960s.
Well done. Very sharp, sir. Very sharp. We'll see you guys again at the top of the hour. Thank you.